We've got some hoops action to go over here on today's show. Welcome to Locked On ACC. I know you're thinking, just how is it going to go down this weekend among some of your favorites? Well, Kinton and I have all of that conversation here today.
You are Locked On ACC, your daily podcast on the Atlantic Coast Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to today's edition of Locked On ACC. I'm your host, Candace Cooper, joined by Kenton Gibbs of Locked On Wolfpack. Each and every day, you can find us wherever you listen to podcasts. Make sure you download, subscribe to the pod from anywhere. Our YouTube page is where we really get a lot of the action in. Join our community, subscribe to that section, and then just really engage in the comments. We always love to talk to you because we know y'all certainly talk back. 5-star reviews only when you are listening in the audio space. We always appreciate it. Now we're jumping into today's episode to talk a little hoops, prepare you for the weekend. If you want to get in on betting action and or go to a game with our friends at Gametime, you just could do just that. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Kenton, are we ready to rock and roll?
Absolutely. Let's get into it. We really don't have to start off with the women's basketball upsets. We can talk about some other things. There's plenty of players from Bama being poached. There's all types of complaining about what's going on in the portal. We don't have to start off with women's basketball upsets. It's not necessary.
I would love to start with upsets. Actually, the first one I want to talk about is one in Miami, right? The one in Coral Gables, the one where NC State got dog walked by those ladies in green and orange. I don't know if it was just an off night for the Pack or it didn't quite get together, but it was definitely their worst showing so far this season. But kudos to Miami for having one hell of a game.
I don't recall. I don't really want to talk about it. No, but seriously, that NC State team is known for their balance, and they just did not – they weren't a balanced team on this night. Miami had more double-digit scores than them, and they got off to a hot start, which at some point in time, you had to know – Westmore coach teams in those slow starts were going to catch up to NC State, and they did in this game. But credit to Miami, credit to Dave Wilson, credit to that team for showing up, doing what they needed to do to get a win there, because that is a massive win. That is objectively a massive win for Miami because, again, NC State's one of the top teams in the nation. They were on the one seed line as far as bracketology had them, but Miami, from start to finish, Lachey Dwyer and company did what they needed to do and came out on top.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, to be a number 4 team in the country to get beaten and how they got beaten, I think it really just speaks to the way women's college basketball is this season, right? Anybody can get it. It's very much open season. Every other day I follow March Madness women's basketball, and you see the upset bracket pop up on my timeline because it's just someone else is going down. So it's really nothing to hang their hats on, but certainly feel like they can turn stuff around. But shout out to Dave, like you said, Dave Wilson, Roberts having 18 points between both of them, and just really strong showings last night.
Yeah, like we talked about plenty of times, this is not a situation where the ACC has a couple of really good teams and a bunch of cupcakes. It's more so like you have 3 to 4 teams that are your top dogs per se, but then there's a pack that's right behind them, nipping at their heels, and that group all in there, that's a tough group to overcome.
Yes, moving on, not necessarily an upset, but certainly a good showing for the North Carolina Tar Heels, who beat Georgia Tech, now 5-1 in the ACC. Very much a streaky team, right? You never know what you're going to get, unfortunately. Yeah. But for this night, Deja Kelly hits her free throws, which she was struggling about 60% from the line, and got a nice little 27-pointer. So is Deja Kelly back? Who knows? But we'll enjoy it while it rides.
Yeah, this is a situation where this was a North Carolina team barely hanging on to top 25 status here. You really could not afford a loss to this Georgia Tech team. Like that's the reality. I don't want anybody to be upset with me or act like I'm talking crazy here. You could not stand a loss to this Georgia Tech team, and Deja Kelly and company did just what they needed to do to come away with a win here. They turned them over just enough. They did just enough, despite a very cold shooting night, to come out on top in this one.
Yeah, 100% agree there. Moving on to another ranked team, Louisville took care of business, beating Clemson with the help of Kiki Jefferson and Jada Curry. No relation to Stephen, but still very much a sharp shooter. It's just amazing to me how Louisville is really just turning the page on that Haley Van Lith chapter and just marching forward and really playing some really solid ball so far with Cochran and team. And just I'm really happy for them as they just move forward and kind of keep things rolling.
The last undefeated in the ACC in terms of Louisville Cardinals. There's a reason for that, right? Of course, you're looking at a Clemson team that is struggling to say the least, but this Louisville team showed you the blueprint of how you beat teams that are struggling, that I need some folks, Westmore, to take a page out of their book. They come out of the gates hot. They do not let you dig a hole, dig them in, put them in a hole to where they got to get a pretty sizable shovel to dig out of. This Louisville team, wire to wire, did exactly what they need to do to whip the wheels off of Clemson. And I'll tell you what, I don't want nobody to get mad at me here, but I got to say it. Okay? We are almost entering that free her territory with Dejanette Harris. I'm not saying we there.
I was just gonna say, if I put up 25 and we still got dog walk, I don't know. I might be dabbling my toe in that portal.
And here's the thing: I'm not saying we there because she has had games where it's like, what's going on with her? Where's she at? But I'm just saying that's tough. That's a real tough one if you ask me.
100%. Looking for another upset, we have Syracuse taking down Florida State, the number 15 team in the country, thanks to our girl Miss Fair, who not only has 3,000 plus career points, but she took the team, put it on a back and said, "We're going out here. We're leaving with something." Right, we're going home back to the dorms with something. That 79-73 victory, despite Tanaya Latson and Seminoles trying their best efforts, making their best efforts.
And you know what? This is a game that I look at and I say to myself, what a difference a year makes for Syracuse. What a difference. Because it seemed like last year, all the games like this would go against them. It seemed like games where they found themselves down a lot, trailing going into the fourth, there was no way they were coming back. And even if they did, the other team would just find enough. They just have that moment where you're just like, oh, damn, it was almost. It was close. But in this game, Syracuse was having none of it. The Asia Fair was having none of it. And everybody chipped in. I mean, to look at this Syracuse team and say, all right, we're going to get 30 from Fair, but every single player that plays is going to have 5 or more points, that'll do it. That'll get it done. That'll be enough to win. Holding Florida State to 23% from deep while also shooting 47% or 48% really rounding up from deep, that'll do it. That'll get you a win every time.
That'll do it. Notre Dame taking care of business against Virginia. The Fighting Irish, Hidalgo, arguably one of the best point guards in the country. She might win ACC Freshman of the Year. I don't know. She's giving all the things. I think the way they're being able to take care of business and get back on horses when they fall off a little bit has been impressive. But I think her leadership has certainly been one to, hang your hat on if you are Coach Ivy.
First thing first, the Zoe Brooks erasure, crazy. That's insane. But more so than that.
I don't know. I'm going hard in the paint. I need Olivia Miles to get healthy so I can really talk junk. But yeah, Hidalgo's it for me right now.
I'm just saying, when you talk Freshman of the Year, that
Hidalgo is definitely that for me.
Oh, okay. Did Hidalgo get a triple-double this year?
Did she get dog walked by, who was it? Miami? Oh. Okay. All right. Just making sure.
Oh, I'm sorry. Was she part of beating multiple top 10 teams?
I was just making sure.
Oh, okay. We all just making sure. We all just checking. Checking. But very seriously, this Notre Dame team is deep. Coach Ivy has her squad. She has her squad. To see the way that they're winning and playing and doing the things that they're doing without their star player is quite a sight to see. And so you look at this game and you say, was it perfect from Notre Dame? No. But did they do enough? Yes, absolutely. And again, this situation, when you're talking about Notre Dame, who they are and what they are, the ability to win without your stars is imperative. That is because there's going to come a moment where the other gals have to step up because your stars having an off night or because they get injured or whatever the case may be. And Citron said, oh, we don't got Olivia. I'll make it easy. Follow me. And there they go.
100%. Boston College beat Wake Forest in a close one, 68-65. But the biggest upset, arguably to me, of the weekend beyond just Miami and NC State of the weeknight was Duke beating Virginia Tech and beating them handedly, because it was a strong half for Virginia Tech, right? And then the second half, it was all Blue Devils. And so you got to give them kudos and credit for the late coach Carol Lawson, and brought those girls back to get a big top 15 dub.
You know, I think the most interesting thing about this is every time you think you have Duke pegged, they say, not so fast, my friend. Every time you think to yourself, I know exactly who they are, they say, you know nothing. You know nothing, and you will take that, because this year, everybody's so confused about, is Duke actually good? They lost so much from last year. Every time they play really good teams, it seems like they get ran out of the gym. And all of a sudden, you're looking at a situation where this team has shown up and taken some absolutely massive chunks out of teams in the ACC, including Virginia Tech, who in this game, again, they just seemed outclassed. They just seemed overmatched. It just looked like immediately, ever since that first quarter, where Virginia Tech got out to a hot start, Duke figured it out and did not lose another quarter all game, even when they had their backups in toward the end. So, you know, this game here, Duke did their thing. Coach Lawson is coaching those women up. They're figuring it out. Love to see it.
100%. Let's talk about some of the weekend matchups, as there are big things looming here for a lot of the women in the ACC. But first, the regular season's wrapping up. If you have not yet got your playoff bets in, you still have time with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. It's $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet a layup. FanDuel is the official partner of the NFL. Some important games here, as we were talking about the upset that Duke provided Virginia Tech. They could also find themselves with another upset, another top 15, top 5 win here against NC State as they play on Sunday at noon. Huge rivalry game in terms of just being in the triangle. But for where Carol Lawson is trying to take this program to the next level, it will certainly be something to be said if they can beat the Wolfpack. However, it will also be something to be said if the Wolfpack cannot bounce back, after that loss, get themselves together and really hone it too. I low-key think I would hate to be the next person that had to play the Pack after that whooping, because I think Coach Westmore is certainly that coach that gives it to you straight.
Yeah, and it's I'll tell you what, Westmore teams after a loss, they're always tough. But this is also a rivalry. This is also the triangle right now in terms of women's basketball. I mean, and in men's basketball, really. And it's the hoop state for a reason. Mm-hmm. And so these teams are all going to give each other problems. They're all going to give each other's best shot and whatnot. And that is an NC State team that is still down a prolific post scorer and post presence defensively in River Baldwin. So you're looking at a team that is pliable. Miami showed, hey, they have weaknesses. You can't exploit them. They will have nights where they go absolutely cold. Isaiah James will have those games that make you want to pull your hair out, even if you're bald. So the reality is, this Duke team and Richardson and company, they have a shot. This is not a hey, if they won this be the upset of the year. However, obviously NC State is going to be favored in this one.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Let's talk about another big matchup. Louisville and North Carolina will face off at 2:00 on Sunday. 2 ranked teams, 2 that both need these wins to help, continue building that NCAA tournament resume. And I think that it's probably a bigger game for North Carolina than Louisville, but certainly one that if you're riding the high, Louisville should come away with this win.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, Louisville undefeated in conference. They've had quite a streak going here in terms of just doing what they're supposed to do, finding ways to win, and when they have an inferior opponent in front of them, making them look inferior. The thing for the Tar Heels is going to be, are you going to play this thing out as a team or not? Mm-hmm. Louisville, you know what they're going to do. They're going to come at you in waves. They're going to come at you with all types of defensive schemes, because that's what Coach Wall does, and he has the personnel to execute it, especially with Cochran backstopping that defense in the middle. And so the question is, can we do enough as a team? Can we hit enough shots as a team to get a win here?
Yeah, 100% agree there. Other good matchups for the weekend. If you are a women's basketball fan, Clemson facing off against Virginia Tech, Virginia and Florida State, Notre Dame, Wake Forest, Syracuse face off against Pitt, and then Boston College and Georgia Tech. So make sure you check all of those good ones out. We're going to transition over to the men's side of things because we need to get in more betting. What's better than one side of the ACC world? Two. There's a lot going on Saturday for the men. A lot of ACC tournament implications. We only have 2 ranked teams. However, comma, we know here as we're trying to build up the ACC's national recognition and the Lunardies and the bracketologies, every win is big if you're men's basketball.
Yeah, and again, I really don't like the way that people are talking about men's basketball in the ACC nationally, but it is what it is. There are multiple teams that I think are much more quality than they get credit for. Of course, you've got Duke and Carolina being the Blue Bloods who are both playing. Carolina on the road up at Chestnut Hill and Pitt and the Capos coming back to Duke and all that good stuff as well that evening. But I look at many of these games and I say to myself, Florida State Clemson, one to keep an eye on, right?
Well, it's crazy that we're about to go over it, It's crazy. We're going to go over the whole kit and caboodle.
My bad.
But would you like to start? Go ahead.
My bad. I thought that was my key to go over the whole kit and caboodle. I'm going to let you cook. No, I'm going to step out the kitchen. I'm going to step out the kitchen. I'm going to let you cook.
Actually, I want you to run this point. It's men's basketball. You run point, damn it.
I'm going to ask you which game is most intriguing to you. Which game are you looking at that you?
No, I want to hear your side. Go for it.
I've already said my side.
You didn't quite get done. I want to make sure you finish.
I've already said my side, and that Clemson and Florida State is one that has a lot of intrigue because Florida State has been hot. They've been doing what they're supposed to do and all that. And that NC State Virginia Tech game are kind of in that same realm of these are teams that have been hot, been doing what they're supposed to do, taking care of business and all that in conference. But these are both games that are very losable for both of these teams. These are both games where, both of these teams, with all due respect, with Hall and Padula, they have guys that can go nuclear and backpack you to a win. And so your question for Florida State and NC State, 2 teams that thrive off the we show up as a team, we eat as a team type of mentality. Will they do what they need to do, especially with NC State going through the shooting woes that they're going through? Will they do enough to outdo Padula if he's hot? Will Florida State do enough as a unit to outdo Hall if he's hot?
Yeah, good. All right, kick it. Keep kicking. I like this.
It's on you now. It's on you. I've said the games that I find most intriguing.
Okay.
So, see, this is what happened. You see, when folks get their little Middle Park bug going and they think they all cute and pretty, they all of a sudden they want to switch seats and say, oh, it's your job to run the show now. I'm not doing it no more.
Hey,
so by all means, please tell me what games you're looking at that are most intriguing.
Let's put me on the hot seat. I personally think Miami-Syracuse is going to be an important game. One, because Miami definitely needs some sort of morale boost, right? Yeah, they need to get back on the horse. They've been struggling a little bit against teams that they honestly would beat 10 times over, twice on Sunday. It's not quite working out. Syracuse team that's got judgments on it, right? They're very much figuring out their identity, but they've been way more consistent than in most recent years. So I think it's a very important, almost borderline must-win game for Miami, but we'll see which Syracuse team shows up. I do think that the Louisville Wake Forest game is important because Wake Forest coming off that loss against NC State, trying to get that confidence back. Can Carr have a similar career high type performance? And we just know you can't lose to Louisville. But Louisville was knocking on that North Carolina door, so they know it's possible to beat a quad 1 type team. They just have to get over it and get to that hump. Then you have Georgia Tech and Virginia that I'd argue is a great game as well because you have a very young Georgia Tech team. Coach Stoudemire is doing great things with them down in Atlanta. And Tony Bennett and company probably feeling high about that Virginia Tech game, which is cute. But Georgia Tech is not Virginia Tech. And I need y'all to come same energy now that y'all are back healthy. Can you keep this train rolling?
That's definitely fair. And you've definitely mentioned some games that are, these If the ACC had a more favorable outlook nationally, I think that a lot of these games would have a much closer eye on them than what we're going to see because it's a situation where, again, the country is swearing up and down, ACC basketball is terrible. Well, listen, the Blue Bloods are good now. What more do you want?
Yeah.
How much more do you want?
I think it's because the inconsistency, but is it inconsistency or is it everyone is just good and on any given night it's a game of runs and anybody can get it? Like, let's just talk about what basketball is, at the end.
Exactly. Again, SEC football outside of Georgia and Bama have not been world beaters and just whooping behind, but they get said of themselves that they cannibalize each other. Big Ten football, same deal. So,
Yeah, 100% agree. All right, let's wrap up the show here, land this plane, talking about our friends at Gametime. We know that today's episode is brought to you by them, and Gametime is the only ticketing app that gives you complete peace of mind with your purchase. They're obsessed with finding ways to help you save money on tickets. Gametime has deals on tickets right up to the start of the event and even an hour after it starts. With zone deals, you pick the section and Gametime picks the seats for big time savings. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets, download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON. Terms apply. Again, using code LOCKEDON for $20 off redeeming that code today when you go to Gametime app. Download the Gametime app today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. Landing this plane with my friend Kinton here as we're talking through ACC hoops. And, while the national outlook might not be great, I still think there's a lot of great teams here. If you were to give me 3 teams right now on the men's side that you feel like they're giving you what you need from a college basketball season, who are you high on?
I mean, obviously, the two Blues, obviously Duke Blue and Carolina have been having great seasons.
Are you high on Duke though, or are you just high on them because that's where they're ranked and they're having a good year? I don't know. I don't know if I'm convinced.
So what do you mean by high on them? Like, what do you mean?
You feel like this is a strong team that if you were to have to go right in your what you call it? You know what I'm talking about?
Right in bracketology.
Would you feel confident that they would make a nice little run?
Well,
pick up
anybody who says they feel confident with a team making a run in the year of our Lord and Savior 2024 they're a little touched. They're a little exactly. A little
really.
And I'm not saying that because the ACC is bad this year. I'm saying that because the reality is basketball is so mercurial, and we don't have the same situation we used to have where superstars stick around.
Mercurial, we like that. Okay.
Anywho, we don't have the same situation where stars are sticking around and whatnot to where like, oh, this guy, he's going to be great in the NBA for 10 years, 10, 15 years, and he's on this team, so I trust that he can do this or that. You don't have that situation anymore. So, I mean, we saw 1 seed Virginia get bounced in the first round, and everybody thought like, oh, they're going to be great. So I think that this is, I wouldn't trust anybody right now to say like, oh, I'm sure that RJ Davis won't have a cold night in the tournament and they go down. I'm sure that Filipowski won't lose his juice one night and they go down. I'm sure that NC State, who is third in the conference actually, is done messed around and not hit a 3 in the game. They've had a game like that this season where they did not hit a single 3. Oddly enough, they won that game, but that's neither here nor there. The reality is very simple. I don't look at any of these teams and say, book that team to the Final Four right now. But would I say that there are multiple teams that have the ability to go? Absolutely. Yeah.
North Carolina definitely has the ability to go to Final Four.
Yeah.
I think that
ability is different from penciling them in, though.
I think Duke is fraudulent. I think Georgia Tech is going to have, if they get the opportunity, because they might not get it given how the landscape. I think if they make a nice run in the ACC tournament, get the auto bid, whatever. I think Georgia Tech is 1 year away. It's kind of like the Forbes year where everyone was like, I don't know, he's getting all his transfers in. Sotomayor and Georgia Tech are going to be scary. Maybe not this year, but they're the ones to watch. I think Virginia at full strength, I put them up there with North Carolina, and that makes me nervous because Tony Bennett is a very, very much good coach.
I love Tony Bennett.
At full strength.
I don't see the horses in the stable. I just don't.
You're great. I'm great.
I struggle to see it. I really and truly struggle to see it. And the other team that you want to, or not that you want to say, but that I want to say, like, wow, they're having a surprisingly good year. Like this team, they could actually be something. Obviously, Florida State can't be left out of the mix.
Very much a dark horse.
But with Florida State, you look at them and you're just like, man, have y'all actually figured it out, or have you just played the teams that help you to figure it out? Because it's hard to trust a team that lost to Lipscomb. and say, hey, I believe that team is going to be all right. A 21-point loss to Florida and say, hey, I believe that team is going to make a deep run, but they have the length to do it. They have the athleticism to do it. They have a proven coach that has been around the block. He's seen it all, done it all. So, that's a team that length, depth, all the things. Jameer Watkins is an absolute star, but you're kind of still looking. You say, am I sure that they can get it done?
That's fair. I also think Wake Forest is a good team. I think that if they have fire from all the right cylinders, they can be really great. They just need to truly be at full strength. But that's just me. Neither here nor there. I'm going to go look up the word mercurial. You guys are going to go enjoy your Friday. We're going to come back here on Monday, rehash a few things, and figure out what's the next steps for our basketball programs. And, of course, over the weekend, I'm sure there will be another Alabama transfer who might wind up at Florida State, might wind up at Georgia. Who knows? We'll have that for you there as well. So make sure you're checking in, locked in, and all the things. Thank you for rocking with us as much as you guys do. We always appreciate you. Have a great and safe weekend. For Candace Cooper and Kinton Gibbs. Until next time.